It's so pretty. It's a Runa. You'll be a little bit quieter when you're the first one.
You're hiding.
I'm hiding in here because of I thought it was going to rain too much. And then I started it, and then I forgot to enable the chat, so I had to restart it, so we'll probably have a hard time finding people. But,
yeah.
But the really true faithful will find their
They
way.
will find you.
How's your day today?
Yeah, it's okay. Not too bad.
See if I can keep you correctly. It's
I had, no, it's okay.
yeah.
Not so much people anymore. There are some people, of course.
But a lot of buses today, but yeah, it was a little bit less because of the.
7 different groups in today.
Did you know that somebody came up to me and told me they enjoyed the Scottish accent on their tour? They didn't know the Norwegians had such a Scottish accent.
Okay.
And I said, "Oh, did you have Carl, that one over there?" And they said, "No, that guy right there." And I'm like, "Runa has a Scottish accent.
Scottish
That's a new one."
Yeah, very well.
So that was a new one on me, but that's okay. They told me also that the guy in the Chieftain Hall was American.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other American. You mean Greg? Greg from England? Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I could see that.
Okay. Yeah. That happens.
It happens.
Okay, now I'm going home.
Okay.
I suppose you don't want a lift.
No, today we'll be having beer.
Yeah, okay, good. See you.
Okay,
Bye.
see you. There's a David over there. Okay, I'll turn it around again here. So, sorry about the chat. Hopefully share the link, whatever, and see if we can get it fixed. I disabled the chat on accident. I'm going to fix my camera a little bit. Look how pretty, though. So we're hiding in a window. We still have some Freeman, as you can see. It's Viking o'clock, though, so now everyone's getting ready to go and make their dinner. But we'll have a little bit of a party today because we had 10 buses and 2 groups. Now you have to wave. You're on camera.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. There you go. Yeah, you like this house, do you, Olaf? Does it look familiar inside here? This is the house Olaf stayed in. And what I was saying earlier, because I disconnected the chat on accident, this is one of the 4 houses, I think, that does not have a sod roof. This one has a shingled roof, like the Chieftain's Hall does. And it's the one house that was, or it's the first house I think we've ever had a leak coming in. Apparently one of the beds over there gets a little bit of a rain on it. So, but otherwise they've held up for a long time without any leaking. And I would have thought, because if you see, if you see, you can actually see no, I guess you can't see it through here. Hey, you're looking at me, not at the ceiling, damn it. I think you can see sometimes daylight coming through some of those, so I'm kind of surprised it hasn't rained on people earlier. But actually, I don't see it up there now. The roof looks like IKEA furniture assembly. What is it? Assembly. Did it come with a tiny wrench tool? Yeah, we call it an umbraco nyckel or an umbraco key. We have a name for that. But see, you know, the other ones are like this one straight ahead that has turf on the roof. And those haven't rained yet either. I have one on top of mine, the one that I have. But then over there, like the Chieftain's Hall and the orange one behind, that's what this one has. You saw light through it, says Ann Decker. Yeah, Ann also had one. She had the one that's in a different direction. Yeah, maybe there's 5 houses with 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, no, 4 houses that have, including the one Ann had. Yeah, so you could see light coming through it at night anyway. Or not at night, in the daytime. I'm smart. But, oh, look over there. It's starting to pop out. But yeah, they haven't really been leaking, but now it looks like this one finally started leaking. But they were built in 2017, so that's pretty good. Okay, so Anne is here. I had a group not too long ago here, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, a textile group anyway, and they're probably going to try to be looking at Anne for a lecture at some point. Because I told them that she was really, really good when it came to the history of things. And then, of course, she's from Maryland. And they said, oh, yes, we've been talking with her. So if somebody randomly tells her that they were in a Viking village and an American told her to say hi, that would be me. Guilty. So let's see who's here. Johannes used to have a tent straight ahead of us, and we thought it looked so good. People like to take pictures with it, etc. So we put that big tent there when he took his away. Because we thought we would miss it. But actually the tourists are finding it a great place to get out of the rain too, and it's nice to see that thing back up again. It was disassembled in the attic for a while. Let's see. So, who managed to find me on a new link with that's unposted? Samantha Harrington's here. She's been posting some really beautiful things, by the way, in the Nalbinding groups. She won't be joining, but prepping for a Ren Fest. That's right. Have a good time. I miss the Ren Fairs. Nella's here. She's the one who tipped me off about the chat. Thank you very much. It's worth restarting at that point, in my opinion. And Ecker's here. I brought Carl some... Oh crap, I forgot the beer in the office. He's gonna have to get it himself. Carl, if you're watching to try to figure out where I am, the beer is in my backpack in the office. There's going to be no surprises now that you know what it is. But one of them is Belgian. And then Andecker's here, Albert is here. Albert had showed me a wonderful figure he made for the kill team of Warhammer 40K. It wasn't an orc, it was something else. Oh, now it's even getting more clear up there. There, you can see. It was quite cool to see. Carl was impressed. We're going to have to do some gaming sessions this winter when there's nothing else to do in the evenings. And then Olav is here. Of course, despite did you know you actually have beer with juniper in the Viking shop? Did we? Is it one of the new ones? Because we've got a lot of new ones from Voss this year. So I did not know that, but we did. Carl tried one not too long ago. I don't know if that's the same one, though. Albert says he's built 2 Kriegs and have to take a break. No, I completely understand. I've taken a little bit break now, too. A break to build the Stampa. Carl has the Stampa, too. It's this huge, massive thing. We sprayed it, but there's no way in hell we've managed to paint it yet. By the way, here's what it looks in the other direction from this house. That one is the slave trader house up there. And the one straight ahead. It's Dorda again. You're going circles around me. Deja vu. The one straight ahead of us is actually a duplex. There's one on one side and one on the other. The doorway's there. This is actually the back side of that house. But anyway, a little bit of needle binding until Carl figures out where the beer is and finds me. Oh, there's a Carl, actually. Hi! Are you på YouTube? Oh! Nobody på YouTube. And then Carl is, I saw him, he's creeping along. I'll wait for him and then I'll tell him where the beer is and then we'll bring out the York. Stitch of the month is York. Color of the month is red. We have one more Saturday of this month, so hopefully I'll have the hat finished for then. No pressure, but I did choose an easy stitch this time. New York is much, much easier than Omani, which we had recently. There he is. Look at that creepy man walking this way. Are you in love, or is it just me? Hey. I forgot to bring your beer, Carl. Yeah, you have to get your glass anyway. My backpack, there's one new beer and one familiar beer. So if you want, if you just want to, because we're actually going to stay a bit later, probably today, and hang out in the village. So if you want, you can grab one new one out of the Christmas box and the one new one in the backpack. Or you can grab one new one in the backpack and one of the familiar ones you know you're going to love from the backpack as well. It's up to you. Pressure's on.
I think I just prevented a Darwin Award.
You prevented a Darwin Award?
Yeah.
How's that?
Sometimes you have tourists that turn the bow the wrong way around.
The bow? Yeah.
Sometimes you have tourists that turn the arrow the wrong way around.
And?
Then you have the rare animal who manages to do both at the same time.
Turn the bow and the arrow. Was he trying to shoot himself?
Yep.
That's
If
like trying to commit suicide
If I
with...
hadn't stopped him, he would have shot himself in the chest with the children's bow. Probably wouldn't have
With the
killed
children's bow.
him. Probably wouldn't have killed him, but it would have been a very unpleasant experience.
Can you demonstrate this for us?
It is what I describe. The
Yeah?
nitwit, I think he has the children's bow,
Yeah?
but he holds it the wrong way around, so the string is now over here.
Yeah?
Then he takes an arrow, looks at it for a long time, and then he starts putting it on the string. I'm trying to explain to him because I think he is just trying to load it. So I'm basically going, arrows have to point this way, because I don't
Yeah.
like it when people load bows and point in
No.
random directions. And he just looks at me, he is not a native English speaker,
Yeah?
and then he starts pulling it. And I go, no, stop! I would like to, if somebody actually manages to do this one of these days, I would love to read a police report.
Okay, there you go. Suicide by archery. See if you can figure it out. Crossbows don't count. It has to actually be a longbow.
And you can't even use the Alec Baldwin defense. I didn't know it was loaded.
Go find your beer, Carl. We're going to play with some stitching until you do. Okay, so York it is. Okay, the camera's like really low, so you're talking down here. Okay. And then, so this is not quite the right, this is more the right color, yeah. I ran out of pink yarn from, this actually is a regular skein, but I went like this so it didn't look so obviously non-Viking in the village today. But anyway, this is, I don't think I brought it with me, but it's called Hjertegarn or Naturuld. It's Danish heart yarn is what it's called, but it's not red heart, not to be confused with that. And it translates to natural wool, but it's pretty simple, easy wool, and it kind of compares to Olaf Oslopi. And actually, it's not too different than this Eskimo Drops, which is the new one is now Snow, apparently. But I ran out of pink, and they didn't have pink in the color I wanted, so in the shop they keep buying pink, so that's what I got. This one is as close as I can get. Hope it looks okay. This one is not done. It's an Oslo. It's got a spiral on top there, if you can see it. Starts there, ends here. This one is not very obvious to the world, but it has 100 grams in each skein, and it looks like I will have enough to make 4 hats because I have this and 2 balls of this left. One in the beige, which is the other color in here, and one in this color, which is almost more like peach. You can see my hand there. I'm not very tan. But anyway, so this is how I was using, this is a bit more obvious how the spiral goes. It was to try to tie more than one in. Before you get too excited, that's not a nipple. Okay. Anyway, I have to make pointy hats because as long as Anders Hovland is running around with a pointy hat, everybody in the shop wants one. But there you can see the spiral. It's just a way to add, I've been using to use up little pieces of yarn in a big one. And then I put some at the bottom there as well. And then it ends at 2 points here and here. And then I made the reciprocal, if I can call it that. Beige with a little bit of pink. So I made these 2 hats, and out of both of these with the brown, so basically one hat, I have, and a little bit on the top here, I have this much left over, which is more than enough to do at the bottom. And I have about this much left in that peach color. So I will probably have about that much, a little bit more left of this one. So I don't know what I'm going to have some sort of it should be enough to make some sort of a different hat. But these are all Oslo stitch. So that was just to show what I did this week. I did something, but I didn't do much work on this. We're still just at the tip. Can throw that away. It's got price tags on it because I took him and put him in the shop. This is the York stitch. This is Stitch of the Month. You can see he's a very happy top of a hat. But whereas, this is another reason I brought these, whereas this one is going to have a certain amount of stitches to go around, this one is going to need more because even though it's the same weight yarn, the stitch York tightened to the needle, I should say, is a bit, it's a bit smaller, or it's a bit more snug anyway. It tends to pinch in a little bit more than this one does. So I'm going to need a few more extra stitches to compensate to get the same width. I'm sure that was innuendo heavy, and Carl will tell me all about it later. But anyway, we'll do York. By the way, this is the same York stitch, thumb tensioned. It's very loose. You can see it better if I hold it up to the light here. There. Sorry, I killed my camera. Whereas this one isn't as see-through when it's needle tensioned. You can also go F2. Let's see, I'll put this back. Down. There we go. So anyway, I need to break off more yarn. I was doing this in front of tourists today for a change. I usually am stuck in the office, but because we had 10 buses and 2 big groups, I felt like I needed to be in the village more, especially because now we have just hit the week where we have less freemen in the village, although we are at 80% houses in use. So that's actually a good thing. Actually, we would have been full because there was 2 that canceled, and if they had shown up, the ones that added on last minute would have filled it up. Okay, so there we go. I don't know why, but I always have to do 20 butterfly wraps. It's like a unwritten rule in my head, a little OCD. Of course, now I'm not counting. So it is what it is. Actually, I shouldn't go too long. Okay, if you haven't seen rain in Gudvangen, it is so nice when the clouds are just wafting in and out and making different views. It's like a new picture every 5 seconds. Okay, so York stitch focusing. First I have to splice. I do a spit splice. Arlene says, today they have heat warning of 38 degrees. I'm going to stay inside and finish my baggy pants. Oh my God. You know, people were watching me today sitting outside in this weather, barefoot. I'm wearing a hood. I'm wearing a wool dress as usual, but no leggings on underneath, but just bare feet, and they thought I would be freezing. These are mostly Germans running around. I have to add some spit now. With their umbrellas and big winter clothing and thinking I was freezing. And I said, no, actually the reason I'm barefoot is to reduce some of the heat so I don't overheat with this hood on and with this wool dress. Although this is linen. And dirty, don't look closely. Okay. But if I go barefoot, then it tends to let off some of the heat. Maybe I'm just going through menopause, God knows what. Anyway. Okay, York stitch. You're working with the end 2 loops, new one, old one. Make the new one a little bit bigger. You can keep 2 on your thumb if you want to. You can keep it behind you, but that's my first loop, that's my second loop. I'm going F1, so 1 new one. And then you, instead of going this way like you do also, you go backwards. So this way and this way. Come on in, Carl. You can sit there maybe, or do you want to sit next to me? What's up? Maybe here, it's easier to see you. That's the light. I'll move my basket there. Anyway, and then you pull through, but you're going backwards through back through that one, then under that one and under that one. Pull through. I should have needle tensioned, so we'll just do a little after tensioning. There we go. And so, if you remember which one it is, but you're going this way, through there, and under there. And then needle tensioning, because my thumb is too big. Although this is a gigantic needle. Okay, and then I should probably count. I'm increasing every 7th now. I'm almost wide enough to want to stop. Did you want to innuendo that one, Carl? I'm almost wide enough to want to stop. No, but the circumference of my hat, so if we go centimeters, is about 25. This is, well, not the circumference, but do pi. Anyway, the diameter is about 25 centimeters. So this one is going to be somewhere around 22, and then it might just grow a little bit over the next row. I don't know. But I'll try 22, 23, and then I'll be, so maybe about 2 more rows and I can stop. No, 2 rows seem like way too much. Like, I would probably stop when it gets about that big. Your hand is another idea. But, and then I can try it on. If it's still, if you like make, when you stop increasing, you go about a couple more rows. If it looks like it's going to be too small, it's not too late to increase like every 10 or so. That needle is big enough to be wall art. Oh yeah. No, this is actually, I call it my instruction needle. Because it's so big that the people in the back row can see it. But I love using this needle with the fat yarn because it's got a really big eye. And actually the stitches that I'm using here are loose enough that this can fit through without opening up the stitches from the previous row. It's big enough to do. Let's see. One behind in there. But also it gives me a lot to grab onto. Go ahead, Carl. Innuendo. No, if it was a small needle, then I have a hard time gripping, carpal tunnel, tendonitis, whatever you want to call it. But if I, this way, then I have a lot to grab onto. That is why I prefer a long needle. There is no other reason or rule that you should have a long needle. Unless you, except for yes, the other one, the people in the back row can see it. But anyway, so I'm increasing every 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I should have increased the last one and I didn't. So this is actually an easy one to unstitch if you don't want to unthread your needle. Of all the stitches to unstitch, the York is actually pretty easy to do. Okay, so I was supposed to increase there because I'm not paying attention. But this is how I've been doing this stitch. So where the last 2 are there, you can also look here. There's 1 loop, 2 loop, and I'm going through the same. You just kind of go through the 2nd loop there. Keep this yarn up and then pull through, but needle tension first. I think that's somehow I've been doing York that way because it's, my mind thinks it's a good idea. So there you go. Then 1 loop, 2 loops in, tensioning, pull through. So I'm going to keep increasing on this, and hopefully I get to the point where I don't have to increase anymore. Carl's got beer. You want to say hi, Carl?
Hi, Carl.
What did you think of, cute. What did you think of Albert's figure that I sent you? I sent you a picture of it. Did you not look? Get on your phone and look it now. Here, they're sitting a little low today, so. We're at Olav and Siv's house. That's what happens when they leave. Look at the figure. I sent it to you in Messenger about 2 days ago, I think, maybe. There. That one. First, make it big. She said, pointing at his lap. And now show them. Can you see? See if it shows up. That's what Albert made. He's taking a break, and I'll tell you why in a minute. For making those. What do you think?
It's
He did a better glue job than you
Death
did.
Guard sniper.
Yeah. Is it capable of killing orcs? He's kneeling on a skull.
It's capable of killing orcs if the orcs wants to hang around in the far distance.
Okay.
They don't.
Oh, so are you saying that your orcs are gonna kill his kill team?
The sniper might get a kill.
Yeah.
But then he will be nose to nose with 3 orcs with big choppers.
So guess what he's making? He's building something big.
Well, I'm not that familiar with the
See if we can look up your
Empire,
nose here.
so I don't know exactly what they have that is big.
He's building a stampa.
Okay, so he's an orc too.
Maybe. Can he do that though? Cross teams? Can everybody just, what if he commandeered a stampa from you, claimed it of his own, and then used it in a future battle? Can he do that?
Not normally, but you could buy campaign rules that would make
See?
that possible.
So he
There
could do
is
that.
a little bit of a problem with integrating orc technology into other
Stomp. You
people's...
have to look it up to see. STOMPA.
Into other armies, because most of it only works because the orcs thinks it works. So
Uh-huh.
if there are no orcs around to think it works, it just turns into a big pile of scrap. It's not quite that extreme, but
Yeah.
it might not work properly if you don't have a proper orc believing in it.
Okay, so exactly what is a stampa?
It's
Except for that it's really big and it's got a lot of metal plates.
it's a mechanized orc mine battle thingamajig
Yeah?
with an ungodly amount of guns, and it walks around and stomps things.
Stomps.
Yeah.
Things. So hence the name
According
stampa.
to the lore, it only exists because an orc saw an imperial dreadnought and thought it was the emperor. And then he decided to build something that could crush the emperor. So he built the Stompa.
Yeah?
And it is pretty much in the same class as an imperial dreadnought.
Let's see. Albert's got something to say about that. Ooh, there's some questions in here too, but that's about, I see Nella's answering the spinning ones. He says, I do have a ton of orcs and space marines. I do 2 armies, he says. Will that work?
Yes, as long as you don't mix them too much. Because the Space Marines would...
Crossbreeding! Can you do that? Take some parts of one figure and add them into parts of another?
The thing with the Warhammer universe is that everybody hates everybody else.
I'm rewriting the rules.
The Space Marines marines wouldn't cooperate with orcs under, well, basically any circumstances. The orcs might be considering it, but they really love fighting Space Marines because the Space Marines, unlike the other humans, can actually kind of give them a fair fight in close combat.
Yeah.
So they like Space Marines as enemies, so it is very unlikely that the Space Marines would have a easier enemy that they would ally with the orcs to take out.
Yeah.
Maybe corn demons or something like
Corn
that.
demons?
Unlikely, I would
You
say.
did say corn and not porn.
Yes.
I would wonder
corn
what a-
demons would be Slaanesh demons. That's something else.
Okay. Let me see. There was some more here. Max is here, by the way, and then Arlene is here. Yeah. Men and Kills. How do you do the spiral? It's really cool. We can show that next week. That's a bit. No, I can actually show it. All right. Carl, first you need to open. Do you want to start with the? You've got to start with a new beer. Let's get you a new beer, and then I will show him how to do a spiral start.
Yeah. This one sent me into a little bit of a rabbit hole because I read.
Yeah,
the
that's a
thing
new
on
one
the
though.
back.
Jemima's Pitchfork. I like the name of it, so that's what we're having. Jemima's Pitchfork.
On the back side it says named for Jemima Nicholson,
Jemima.
who single-handedly ended the 1797 Battle of Fishguard using only a pitchfork.
Battle of Fish God.
Fishguard. This
Okay.
golden ale is a proper cult classic, which means nobody likes it.
It's 5%. What's
Yeah.
not to like?
Now,
Is it 5 or 5.5?
It sent me into a rabbit hole because
This is
I
what he's
obviously I have never heard about the Battle of Fishguard before, so I googled it, and that's interesting. I'm going to read more about it later.
Glamorgan Brewing Company. I gotta see, Jemima's Pitchfork reminds me of Aunt Jemima's maple syrup in the United States. Although that's probably got some new woke name to it now anyway, but I think she would be rather proud of having a nice maple syrup. But this one has nothing to do with her. I don't know where they get... Named for Jemima Nichols. Not Jemima Nicholas. Who is that, by the way?
I just read that.
But it doesn't really say. I want more information. That was...
So I googled the Battle of Fishguard,
Okay, the Battle of Fishguard, yeah?
and it's the last time mainland England was invaded by anybody, and it's the Revolutionary French Army, and they lose spectacularly. That's all I know because I just googled it for 5 minutes while she was talking about how she needs to widen her hole.
Oh, aren't we bragging a little bit here? Jesus. You are picking that mess up that you just dropped there. Did you rinse your glass? Jay wants to know.
Yeah, I just emptied out water. What do you think I did?
But did you, okay.
Smells like
Teen Spirit?
smells like kind of beer, and the color is okay-ish.
Very golden ale, like it says on the bottom.
I don't think I like golden ale even when it is proper golden ale, and I think this is probably proper golden ale.
Smells
But
kind of
it
sweet.
kind of tastes like grass.
Okay. Do you eat grass often?
I try to avoid it.
Okay. So grass, huh? What do you think, though? Is it going to go down?
I'm very tempted to donate it because I know what the other one is.
Yeah, we brought the good one. Yeah, we did bring back an oldie but a goodie, one that he's had a while ago, but he just can't stop thinking about it. And this is his other one. We've had this one before, but it's probably been a while since we showed it on YouTube. When Carl had this one, we nearly had to wheelbarrow him out of here. It was kind of funny. It's a triple, too. And this one is the low percent of 10. Anyway, but you don't have to drink it that fast. We got a long night here, so. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna show a needle binding spiral. I'm using Oslo Stitch just to make it easy, but okay. So now I have it set up. So, la la. There are a couple different ways to do this. I put little small videos out on how to do it. But this is the easiest way to do it, in my opinion. It's kind of like deconstructed round start. So you have one chain of oslo stitch in one color, and here's your tail. I'm right-handed, by the way, and this is on top. So that's where your thumb would go. Now, then I have one more. So 2 identical ones, both are about 5 stitches. You have to decide because your first row, so normally if you start with 10 stitches, then you want 5 and 5. If you start with 8 rows, Jesus Christ, you're burping over there. Okay, or 4 and 4, whatever. When I do the pointed hat, I want to have less because I don't want it to be flat. But if you, whatever you need anyway. But the second chain, you're going to actually flip it upside down. Or not, yeah, so it's like this way. The yarn is still up on top, but it looks like that. The camera's not pointing down very well. Then you use the tails, and you take the tail and you thread it through the underside here, and this tail, and thread it through the underside there. And the reason I chose Oslo is because I have only the big needle with me today, so this is pretty big. There you go. So that is one. Remember, this is the start end, or the working end. So this is the tail end of the other chain. And thread it and pull it through. Keep the direction the same. So now you see I've got it halfway done there, like that. Now I can turn it around and do the exact same thing with this tail. So hold that one out of the way. Thread underneath here. I think my end loop got a little tight there. There, 1, let's see, 2, 3, 4, circa 5. I have no idea how many there was. Anyway, so this is still up. So now I'll take the tail of the red one and pull that one through. This is one thing where a long needle isn't in handy because you have to push it in a ways just to be able to thread it. Short needle would make that much easier for you. So there you go. And then you tighten. Pull that one tight, that tail tight, and that tail tight. Now you have the beginnings of a round start if you hold the tails away. So now this one you're going to pick up and just start binding on the top. But normally if you would increase in every stitch in the beginning row, then you're going to be doing that every stitch on these 4 or 5, whatever, and every stitch on these. Then the next row, it's like half rows now. So then if you increase in the next row, if you increase every other, then you have to do half on the every other and half on the other. You have to kind of keep track of whatever you need to do to make sure it goes flat. But that is basically how I round start, if that makes sense. I could stitch a bit on it, but I'm planning on picking this out later and using the wool. So, but anyway, hopefully that kind of describes it or fixes it for you there. Let's see, that was man quilt to act that. There was a bunch more in here though, so I'm catching up. Lindsay made it. There we go. Back to the top. Let's see. PJ's here. Yes, I'm not sure what you're describing. I can't remember what I was describing either. The backpack is filled with lemon beer, said Robin. Or said Olaf. And the lemon was good. I can't have the beer, though, so today I brought myself some amaretto because we'll be hanging out in the village. Lindsay says they're hanging drywall in their loft behind the scenes at one of their fairs. That would be kind of, that's a lot of work. PJ says maybe he's one of those twits who thinks that arrows aren't real weapons and can really hurt a modern person because we have guns and iPhones and computers. What do you think, Carl? I think she's onto something there. Yeah, thank you. There it goes. Nella writes that Hjertegarn Naturöld is the name of the yarn that this pinker one and the beige one is. But you can see it's pretty comparable with the drop snow, which is, this is Eskimo, but the new one is snow. So it kind of works. Audra's here. She says, I'm late. Last time from Lithuania. Not too long till Audra gets to come here. Bringing beer to Carl, by the way. Berry taste. What do we think, Carl?
I'm skeptical.
I like it. Yeah, it could be good. Okay. Back to needle binding for a few seconds and reading the chat. You can stare at that a bit longer. Thank you. That was real helpful. Okay, yeah, so it worked out for you. Mr. Menikilts in Alaska. there's a couple different ways to do it, but that I think is the easiest way to do it. And it's basically just, I mean, you could do it in a round and then change the yarn, but this is just so much faster. It's easier to kind of pick up anyway. But the reason I like spirals is a lot of people don't like, where does it show up pretty well? Probably shows up better on this one, actually. A lot of people don't like this jog that you get when you start the second row on top. If you were going to make a regular line, you would get this little jog here. But when you have spirals, it looks like your stripes are always clean. And you can start with more than one. You can start with 4 different threads if you want to and make the space even bigger between. But what I did on these is basically I just, at certain point, I changed there it is. I changed the brown to pink and then just did 2 rows of pink, which is where I'm at on this hat now. You can see there's 2. And then one of them gets changed back to the brown and picks up from there and goes around. But it's just a nice way to kind of use up when you have just a little bit left, but the same yarn of something else, for example. It's a nice way to just use it up. It's my favorite way to use it up. Okay, Carl. Let's zoom back on your nose here. Yay, because we're sitting a little low today. Your glass is looking empty.
Yeah.
Okay, Garcia says, how did the Vikings actually make their sails, weaving and felting them? Do you want to answer that one?
Well, they're woven.
They're woven, yeah.
And you sewn together several strips of woven thick wool
Yep.
blankets.
The reason for them being in strips, you know, like you see like the traditional well-known red and white stripes on a Viking ship for sail. The reason, I don't know, they actually kept those 2 colors, for example, but the reason for that is because you can only weave as wide as your warp-weighted loom is. So you can make it as long as you want. You just keep rolling up the top and the weaving just keeps moving up. But you can only make it as wide as the loom is. So you would have several of these strips and probably several people working on them at the same time, and then you would lash them together, and that's where you get the stripes. So the red and the white typical one actually shows that off really, really well, why you would have. But it would be vodmel too, which is like a boiled wool, so it's like, and you would use the long fibers of the sheep if you have a spell sow like ours or the old Norwegian short-tail landrace. Norwegian gammelnorsk spellsow. That one is the long fibers anyway it's a 1-year growth, so they're pretty long, and they're much stronger and more coarse, and they're extremely water repellent. So you can just shake it, and the water will come right off the sail. So it lasts a bit longer. And have they actually found any sails in the Viking Age? From the Viking Age?
I remember there was some talk of a really old sail that was found in connection with one of the stave churches, under the floor or something. But
Yeah.
I don't remember the details, and I don't know if that sail was all the way back to the Viking Age or just like right after.
Yeah.
Also, I haven't read about it. It was just a conversation I heard in this village.
Yeah.
So you should probably take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, I'm actually not too sure about that myself. For some reason, I thought in the Ashen Elm they talked about one sail that might have been found at that big burial. Estonia, was it?
Salome.
Salome, yeah? Was it that one?
I am unfamiliar with the Salome find, except
Okay.
for the things you read in popular.
Okay, so if they found a sail in the Salome find, that was it. If they didn't find a sail in the Salome find, then I'm not remembering anything correctly, because it was mostly about, they talked about that find a lot in that book, The Children of Ashen Elm.
Yeah.
But I can't remember anyway, but the reason would be is they recycle them, or they would use it. That's a lot of work in those sails. It would take
No, it's
9 years? Man hours?
well, in straight up man hours, yes. That's according to Arsenal.
Yeah.
Well, what I say,
But a lot less in women years.
it might have been gone quicker for them because they do this for a living. They are not experimental archaeologists or reenactors like we are. That's a thing because the reason I came to 9 years is that 2 women in Denmark basically cradle to grave a sail, starting with sheep. And
Cradle to grave,
they spent 4.5 years on it, 2 women. So in straight up work hours, that's 9 years for one person. But the sheep shearers and wool washers and the wool combers and the wool spinners and the weavers would be specialists and professionals for that thing. And it's like the same thing is true for fighting. Weekend warriors and people who do fighting once a blue moon, like us, who only do it when we have a TV crew or somebody who is a really,
Behind
really
the
special
scenes.
group. We have no experience compared to an actual Viking fighter. Because for them, this is a matter of life and death. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to die. So they would take it dead seriously. And for the upper class in Viking society, they're probably fighting or training to fight if the sun is up. And when the sun is down, they're drinking and talking about fighting. So they basically live it on a level that is, with no offense to the Polish, but you probably have to be Polish to pull off something like that these days.
Is that the nationality you're going to be picking on today? Is the Polish?
No,
I mean, poor
I-
Garcia is still reeling from last week.
When it comes to the Polish reenactors, I actually admire them because
Okay, they were really good, actually, the ones we've had here.
Yeah, and they are
Way more professional than we are.
yes, they take it a lot more seriously than us. And the difference between a Norwegian and a Polish would probably be the difference between a Polish and an actual Viking, something like that.
Polish would win, I'm sorry.
But I'm not a big fan of the Polish style of fighting because they're using their weapons as blunt implements. They just make sure that the protective gear is good enough to stand up to it, and then they go hog wild on each other, which is kind of fascinating, but it's absolutely not something the Vikings would do.
No?
Because if you have a razor-sharp sword, you're not bashing somebody in the helmet repeatedly with it. You're looking for the openings. You're cutting his hands off. You are stabbing him in the groin and under the arms where the armor doesn't really work. You try to get him on the ground so you can remove his armor and then kill him. You do things like that. The thing I admire with the Polish is that they seem to think that getting to the truth in historical matters is more important than personal safety. So, for instance, the thing with the Viking shields being made to catch sharp weapons. The reason we know about it is because the Polish will actually spar with sharp weapons.
What is the one thing that you say on your, and one of the things you say on your tour all the time about the weapons? Our weapons are not.
Our weapons are not sharp because we don't really have enough volunteers to use sharp ones.
Pretty much there. Okay, I gotta check because there is quite a bit of really good information in the chat here. So I'm gonna give you a nice view of outside while I stick my nose in the camera and read. There we go. You can see how the weather is changing a bit. Wow, James is making the sweater. That's gonna take you a while, but oh, it's gonna be so nice. Let's see. Gotta go back further back. That's where Garcia asks about how Vikings made their sails. Max says, I'm thinking about the Russian stitch for next month, like for you. We can take a look at a Russian stitch. Which one will depend on which kind of yarn I have in my stash that needs using. That waterfall over there on the far right of your screen. Actually, if I made it get a bit more center there. That usually casts a rainbow, by the way. We call that one the rainbow waterfall. Let's see if I turn it a bit more. And a little up. Nice thing about Viking houses is there's no glass in the windows, so you can really see. Okay, there we are. And we'll catch up a little bit here. There was some good information I saw. Ella had some good answers here. Nancy's here, by the way. She says, was a certain clay applied to the sails to help waterproof the sails? Hang on to that answer for a second, Carl. Nella says the warp-weighted looms can be rather wide as well. Some of them I would actually think would be quite specifically made for sails, but because they're not actually that hard to construct. But she says, but then they require also more people to do the weaving at the same time, so it might still be more economical to use several narrower ones. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that one. I think that's right. Max says, were there any Nalbinding fragments found in Norway tracing back to the Iron Age? Anne, are you still online? That's a question for you. I want to say Iron Age, huh? I would want maybe the. Oh, look how pretty. Oh, I know there was a mitten, but I don't know if it's from the Iron Age. Okay, let's see. Okay, that may be it. Menenkild says, it was found in the ceiling of an old church, but I don't think it dates back to the Viking Age. I think that's the sail we were talking about, but that might be the Nalbinding also as an answer too.
No, I think it's the sail.
It's the sail, yeah, that might be the one.
I only remember fragments, and it might have been a church, not a stone church.
Yeah, because this is when we were talking about the sails too. Oh, it's starting to clear up over there too. Albert says, otherwise known as, some of the workers were kids too. I know, child labor was a thing in the Viking Age. Actually, spinning is child's labor in the Viking Age. So I always tell tourists, if the kids can do it, so can you, because they think it looks hard. It's so easy. No, it's actually harder than it looks. Nellis says, on average, one seamstress needs 3 weavers to produce fabric, who each need 3 spinners to provide the yarn. I have never seen what the next ratio would be, but I would assume it's near 3 again. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. That sounds very plausible. James says, I'm using 2 needles for stitching all one, AWL1, to put, oops, my screen keeps disappearing there, to put on the yarn and the other on the needle to sew with. Okay, that sounds almost like something you would do for intarsha, for example. Making a sweater. Intarsha, by the way, is not a needle binding thing. That's a knit thing. Garcia is going to go and make sales now because she's got all the information she needs to know. You know, because she learned this when she was 2 because she's Dutch and she had her parents translating for her on the tour. The look on Carl's face. Because I'm mocking his drunken ass from last week. I can't help it. It was fun. You're welcome, Garcia. Oh, Robert Reynolds is here, by the way. Says, finally cut the live stream again, and I'm glad you found the right link because I screwed up and the one I posted didn't have the chat enabled. So we just restarted. Been at weekend shows over the last month. Oh, that'd be fun to go. Amro says, still working on the blanket, 9th of April. Yeah, if you notice, I'm still stuck in February. I've got to work on mine. It's been a chaotic season, but I'm planning on doing it. James says, the stitching awl is used for leather for the sailor's technique. Okay, yeah, because there's a tool that we have called an awl, but a stitching awl is one that it looks like a sharp pointed tool. It's like a needle on a stick, but the needle is at the tip of, and it's kind of like a hollow, if you looked at it the side anyway, and then the thread runs, I'll do this without holding the gimbal. So the stitch is like hollow, it's like a tube, and there's the hole for the needle is down here where my thread is now, and then it kind of runs alongside and it goes up through the base, or through the shaft, and as you stitch down with the awl on the bottom side, you can run or underneath your fabric anyway, like that, you can run a thread under your stitch, and then when you lift it back up, you're ready to pull. It's kind of like a sewing machine, but you're the machine. Anyway, so I'm assuming that's what you're talking about that you're using anyway, but that's what a stitching awl is, if I'm remembering correctly anyway. But that one would, used for leather for the sailor's technique. You would definitely sew with that one. Garcia says, still love you, Carl. Look how happy you made him. Go ahead, have your beer. Let's see. More mountainside here. Yeah, James says yes. Yay, I got one right. Usually I'm in the dust when I'm trying to figure out what James is talking about. But this time I got it, so personal victory for me. See, I think I might have zipped through some of this because I think there was some more in here. Either that or I got it all. But anyway, Carl, do you have the answer to your question? To Nancy's question, was a certain clay applied to the sails to help waterproof sails? You know?
Here I have to speculate a little bit.
That's all we do, really.
I would say that clay, I
Let's
don't
get
think
darker.
you can use because if it dries out, it smolders.
So what would you use?
Um,
We like linseed oil, I know that.
sheep fat.
Sheep fat.
In
Yeah.
I don't know how authentic this was, but if it wasn't authentic, it was idiotic to put it like that.
Yeah.
When I worked at Spangereid, we had some Oseberg tents with the woolen canvas. And to make them waterproof, we rubbed them with something called sheep fat. Imagine the smell of a sheep that has been dead for a month.
Not good.
It's absolutely horrible. We couldn't even be near those tents until that thing dried out a little bit.
Okay.
So when we impregnated the tents with that, they smelled so horrible that we had to basically keep the tourists away from them. It actually smelled like a dead sheep. I think it was fat that was either lanolin or actual fat from inside the sheep that had become rancid. I don't know if that is what the Vikings would have used, but we used it at Spangereid, and if you don't have to use something that smells like a dead sheep because of authenticity, I don't understand why you would use something that smells like a dead sheep. Because there are many modern chemicals that does that job perfectly fine.
I was gonna say, but there's the natural lanolin in the sheep, and if you've, that's actually been a topic a lot lately. I said, I don't know if it was in a spinning group or in the needle binding group or in both. There's several of these groups anyway, but people wanted to know about spinning with dirty wool or unwashed wool. And here we're not talking about the dirt per se so much, is one thing because you can wash it after it's made as well. But it is the lanolin. It is like trying to spin waxed wool almost. It's like it's not
Yeah.
quite sticky, but it's very
The reason we wash it with only water and no soap is to preserve the lanolin.
preserve the lanolin as much as possible.
So
Yeah.
why would you want to do it unwashed? The only thing you get now is that you get lanolin, but in addition you get plant residue and sheep poop,
Yeah, the plant
which
residue
I
and sheep
think
poop
you
is
would probably try to avoid.
unless of course you're not using the wool from the back end of the sheep and just sticking to the or the underside of the sheep, but just sticking to the. But that's getting really picky. But there was actually, and I was thinking about that too, so I kind of sifted through the comments and basically kept my mouth out of it because I don't really know on that one. I know that I don't like it. I've had to do it really quickly for the tourists just to show them what it is because we didn't have any more washed wool at the time. And it is, I just use really small amount because it is hard to pull it from each other. But some of the comments, they were saying that it was for like an impregnating, or what the Norwegian word of that anyway, to waterproof it, to make it more water resistant. They wanted to keep that in there, but
I think, well, I thought that was the entire point of the exercise of just washing it repeatedly
because there's
with
plenty in
water.
there, but I guess they wanted more. But some people actually preferred to spin with unwashed wool, which I thought was,
Yeah,
I don't get it because, but then again, I
when
don't spin more, but.
I rarely spin, but when I do, I just use whatever wool is there.
Yeah, and that's usually the
so
unwashed one if we're running out.
sometimes it's unwashed and sometimes it's washed.
So what do you think when you try this, out of your opinion?
No, I suck so hard at spinning that I fuck it up whether it's washed or unwashed.
Yeah, but clearly you've done it enough on demonstration that you can.
The
have an
unwashed
opinion between the
wool
two?
has other things in it, like straws and other things that makes it dickish to deal
Seed
with.
husks and yeah.
If you got that out, I don't think I would notice much of a difference, but that isn't the standard you should go by. It's the standard of somebody who actually knows how to spin.
Yeah. But the other thing too is with the grass and the straw in there. I mean, if sometimes you buy yarn in the store, and you'll notice there's like a little twig stuck in the yarn, in the spinning of it, and that is actually quite annoying. And if you don't catch it and you knit it, if for example, if you're knitting a sweater or whatever, and you wear it later, there's like this little stick that keeps poking you. And I would think the same would be true for needle binding anyway, but I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing.
Most likely to make something
We should go outside, it's getting dark.
waterproof or kind of windproof, which is kind of the point when it comes to sails.
Yeah.
I think any kind of fat would do that job. Any kind of sticky fat that doesn't doesn't congeal in room temperature or in the temperatures where you're actually using it.
Okay, I'm gonna
Because if it congeals, it will put a lot of pressure on the actual sail and probably tear it.
Yeah.
And also it wouldn't work because, well, it would
see.
blow away.
Let's go outside because it's getting too dark in here to see.
Can I open my Belgians now?
You want to open? Anne, is it okay if he drinks this? It's a repeat. Yes, go ahead. We're gonna be having some time. Take it with you outside though, because I'm blocked. Carl's blocking me. Let's see, and then we got some catching to do here on chat because I'm really kind of curious what everybody else's thoughts are on that as well. PJ says overwash or not even wash. Oh wait, it's a correction to something. If you don't ever wash the raw wool and then spin it, it's slightly waterproof. Or if you don't overwash. Carl is very happy with this beer. It's one of his favorites. He has been like buying this beer left and right ever since Anne woke his eyes to this. So there you go, Anne. Okay, now get out of my way, Carl, so I can get out. We need to go outside where it's a little darker. It's like sitting inside a closet in here.
You want to go outside
Where it's a little brighter. Bite me. Okay, we're gonna come out here. Your house is more echoey than my house, Olaf. Okay. Now you can see which house we were in. There's the entrance to the village. And this is the kid playing session. But I noticed it hasn't been raining too much. There we go. Oh, look how pretty. Okay, the camera's starting to brighten up. And then I'll read a little bit in chat because there was some really good stuff here. Tar pitch can be used too, said Albert. Yeah, that was the thing to waterproof the tents. Or to waterproof the sails. Tar pitch can be used too. Roger says, Carl said sheep fat. But I heard, take it out of your mouth. This is cheap fat, cheap fart. He heard cheap fart.
Yeah, you can use sheep fart to waterproof.
No, cheap farts, like cheap.
As in not
fart.
expensive.
As in inexpensive sheep farts.
Inexpensive farts are good for waterproofing.
Okay, we're having fun looking at the clouds over here. Let's see. Nella says beeswax would do the trick today. Yeah, that would do actually, yeah. PJ says if you, oh yeah, we already read that one. Men in kilts spinning in the grease fun. Yeah, I didn't think it was very fun, but you know, if I have to, I have to. But not for long periods of time, and then I cannot wait to get my hands on some soap after that. Oh, you have to look at the waterfall up here too. It's quite pretty. So it's just hiding behind there. The lanolin, says Garcia, makes your spindle and spinning wheel dirty. Yeah, that's true, actually. If you've ever tried even sewing or, you know, threading a needle that's waxed, for example. If you're going to wax your thread when sewing, which you do oftentimes to make it a little bit stronger, it gets caught up in the eye of the needle, and yeah, it's not fun. I don't like it. Nella says you can collect the lanolin from the washing water and reapply. Oh yeah, that's a good point actually, because you ever notice when we first put water in in the wool, or so we had a bucket of wool, or we put the wool in the bucket, and then we add the water on top, and it almost looks like dish soap coming up. But that's just the lanolin. So that's actually a really good point. Nella says spinning locks with lanolin is quite all right, but in the long run, unwashed wool will mess up all the equipment. So there you go. Nella and Garcia agree. Just imagine this needle being, I mean, it's nice and smooth now. The lanolin in the wool has made it very polished and shiny. And a dream to work with. It's like an old friend, whereas a new needle would have this kind of texture. A new needle will be dry like this, but an old needle with a lot of lanolin has this nice shine to it. But yeah, imagine that just being caked with wax and grease, and then if you have to try to remove all of it, you may actually scrape away the nice shine on the needle as well, and that would be horrid. Anne says, sure, you can have the beer, Carl. He's so happy. He's gone Belgian. Okay, more staring off into the distance here. Nancy Ferris, thanks for your thoughts, Carl and Karen. Olaf says, Viking Jenga. Oh yeah, no, we gotta play that. So, I forget what the heck we were building. Not when I say we, I mean Fjalar. Was making something and we have all these little pieces. So he just cut them real small and he threw them on the table. So, Viking Jenga. Do you know, actually, I've had a couple tourists ask me, so did Vikings invent the game Jenga? No. But it's actually meant to be building with, but yeah, people would sit there and play Jenga with it because mostly they'll just do building. But we have lots of these. But actually it's quite cool. The kids come and play with it all the time, so it made good sense. Here even somebody's made like the moat around a building with it. Okay, let's come out again. We can do this view for a bit. PJ says, is there a possibility of getting photos of those mountains to use as a background to try painting a scene from my book? Oh God, yeah, tell me which ones you want. So now we have, well, you'll have to like, you can freeze the frame too, but it just keeps changing when it's got the clouds on here. But we have...
Without clouds, that one is the best.
Yeah, this one up here is the best one. That's the one that had that tip, that kind of a point that you saw earlier. We'll come back and look at it again when it comes back. But
100 meters more or less right up.
so this is one wall. It's got that waterfall right there, which is actually an avalanche, and the one next to it, and one more right here. So there's actually three. So that's one wall, and then it goes up the valley there where it kind of winds. Then we have, this is the wall with Fenris, because that kind of, oh, actually it looks perfect in this picture though, but yeah, it looks like Fenris. So the white is the actual color of the rock, and so when the rock slides and falls, the part that gets freshly exposed to the elements is much lighter than the stuff that hasn't fallen in a long time, obviously, or hasn't fallen yet. So, but that one, the way it fell, looks a lot like Fenris. And then we have extra waterfalls. This is an extra waterfall there. There's a lot of extra waterfalls on this wall right now because it's raining. But I got a lot of mountain pictures if you need one. Just let know. And then here, of course, is the one with the Skjellfossen, the big waterfall that you see in the Vikings TV series season 1. No, this is not Kattegat. That waterfall is usually here, but in heavy rain like today, it kind of breaks off in two. I don't know if you can see that very well. And there's always that little one in the middle unless it's been really, really dry. Then that one might disappear. All the other ones are extra. And then this is the one that actually could be really cool for your book if I have a good view of it. Somewhere behind that clump of clouds, it looks like there's a cave, I think.
Whoops.
Oops, sorry, Carl. Yeah, I think it's up in there, but it's hard to see it today because it's getting darker now. So winter's actually coming. But yeah, there's always some anyway. You can always freeze frame if there's some that you like. And then of course there's the one out in the fjord where you always see that one straight ahead. And PJ says, oh, and there's even part of the bridge up to the clouds. Oh yeah, there you go, now it's back. This rock for some reason always reminds me of the one in Neverending Story, the big rock monster. I tried to hang on to them. I couldn't, or is it? I tried to save them, if you know what that is. You know, you never watched Neverending Story, Carl?
I read the book in the mid-80s.
Yeah, well, no, it's not a book. You got to watch it. But anyway, the shape of that guy's head looks a lot like the rock troll.
It's a book.
It's also a movie with Atreyu the horse and, yeah, anyhow. Okay, PJ says, I have a location in the book where it's an impossible waterfall thunders between two massive cliffs like those. Well, there you go. Now you have some ideas. Perfect. Yeah, so that would actually... You can kind of see there. Oh, there you can see it now.
So quickly now.
Yeah, they do. So there, it's kind of hard to tell now because the light is changing, but right there, it looks like there's a cave. And it's got enough rain in the, or humidity in the air up there that it's hard to see, but you can kind of make it out. It looks like a cave. I don't think it's actually a cave. I think it's just like a little jetty on the rock. Jetty, is that the right word? Let's see, anyway. But this one, there you got the, Carl's burping because he likes the beer, Ann. There you go. That one you can
Going
kind of
to
see like
go
a bridge.
Get a refill.
You're gonna go get a refill. Yep. Yay, the rock biter, says Lindsay. She knows. We've gone a little bit over, but that's because I screwed up in the beginning. Robin says, that's why I like that house I had to play with. Oh, I could see him sitting there, Olaf sitting in there under the roof in the dark, playing with all the blocks with Viking Jenga. And then, Nellis says also the sheep are dirty animals. Spinning and processing unwashed wool can cause infections, which can be difficult to treat even today. That's a very good point, actually, especially when we're talking about some of the wool comes from the backside of the sheep. And the sheep, of course, they like to sit down in mud sometimes. Robert Reynolds says, I'm sure I remember something about throwing salt water onto the sails of the old sailing ships. So when the water evaporates, it leaves the salt behind and blocks the weave to make the sail effective. That's actually quite interesting. Thoughts?
I've never heard about it before, but it sounds
You would think the salt would dry it out, but at the same, because like this is what happens when linen gets too exposed to
Yeah,
sweat.
but it's supposed to be dry, but
I see, nice hood. It's Kermit the Viking. He did. He made the embroidery. I gotta show it off. Look, look, look. Are you still on camera there? Look, he embroidered that all by himself. 2 colors in there too. I like the way that looks together. Kermit wins. Okay, continue, Carl, with your theory on the salt.
yeah, it sounds like a quick fix. There are probably ways to deal with
Starting to
that
rain.
problem that is better for the sail.
Yeah?
Because I would imagine that the crystalline structure of the salt would not be good for the fibers of the sail. But as a quick fix,
That's a quick fix, though.
if you are in the middle of the bloody Pacific, and you just need your sails to work a little bit better, and you don't really care if because you can buy new sails if you get back home,
Yeah.
then it might work. But I don't know. I'm for being this far inland, I am pretty maritime, but I'm not that maritime.
Ah, okay. Let's see what else is in here. Then I think I got most of them now. So hopefully, take a quick look through, check. So I didn't get too far. Actually, Carl, if you hold this, you got it? He's holding a beer and a gimbal at the same time. This is how far it got. It's actually bigger than it looks because these are more pushed together due to the thumb tensioning than the also head-to-head. But we are getting to the point that I will probably not have to. Okay, so anyway, when you get the circumference right, so that it fits, you can actually go 1 row without increasing. Stretch it and try it on again. And if it looks like it's fitting okay, then you can continue on. If it looks like it's gonna get a little tighter, then maybe increase every 15th or something like that. So now, this is very happy to see you. So next Saturday is the last Saturday of the month. So if Carl holds it like, actually I can just do this. There we go. There, now I'm happy again. So pleased with myself. Anyway, then hopefully no more increases until it gets to about either here if you're a guy. For some reason they like to have it up there, but I like to have my ears covered. You can always roll it up. Hopefully it'll be done. And this will be like pattern of the month too. Oh, I would love to do that, but I don't think I have 12 patterns up my sleeve that are doable within a month. But maybe something we did together. So anyway, Carl, we should probably go because they're having a party over there and we should probably join. Steve just said that it reminded her of Harry Potter. You're right, I think so, actually. And PJ said, surely salt in the weave would hold on to water and make the sails wet despite the lanolin? Maybe. I mean, it's a great way to pull water out of something, actually, salt.
Yeah.
And absorb it. Like, okay, so let's just say you boiled some water on the stove and forgot to turn the vent on, and the box of salt was sitting on top of the vent, And then the next time you try to go and use the salt, it only comes out in clumps. I could totally see where the salt would hang on to the water. That could be a bigger
I know salt hangs on to water.
The sorting hat, yeah, there you
but, when it gets dry, it also gets crystalline and pretty sharp.
go. Ooh, actually, yeah, here's another
But
one.
maybe the lanolin would protect it enough. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I want to try that one. Also, Nella says salt would have been expensive in many places. That's actually a very good point.
Yeah, but if you are on the sea, then using seawater.
Sea salt, yeah. Oh, I suppose. Maybe we're not using the Himalayan rock salt. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Let's see. What else did I miss there? I think it was... Okay, yeah. Nope. See you next time. Have a good week, Sis Garcia and everyone else. Olaf says, I don't know. Anyway. And this is not very red, but I'm calling it red. It's like a maroon. But color of the month. Okay. The look on your face is great. Should we go get you some food for that beer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then we should be here Saturday next week. I did not check the calendar again. Give you a little bit more mystic mountains. That one disappeared again. The rock biter. Happy Carl with his Belgian. And more up there. Okay. See you Saturday, same time. Hopefully I won't screw up the chat. Okay, bye-bye. I'll go and update the links. There we are.